Is anyone going to talk?
Okay, I'll talk first. All right, and welcome to yet another episode of We're Not Helpful, a podcast about books, our recommendations, thoughts, and opinions. I'm Eloise. Joining me, as always, is Brayton.
Hello,
Joining us
everyone.
not... Sorry, Brayton. I talked over the top of you just then.
Yeah, and don't let it happen again.
I won't. No. And joining us not as always, because Julian unfortunately is not well tonight, so we have brought in another fantastic replacement host. We've got Adrian on the line. Hey, Adrian.
Ooh, how are we this evening?
Very good, very
Very
good.
good. I
Adrian pulling his best Tom Bombadil impression.
He's
Which
going
will
to
mean
break it.
nothing to people listening on Spotify.
No, well, if anyone who's playing along by watching us on YouTube, we do
Yep.
have the merry old Tom Bombadil. Hey ho, the dairy-o.
Yes, if anyone doesn't know, I have begun uploading the uncut versions of the podcast onto YouTube with
Oh
full
God, they're
video.
uncut.
Yeah, I am not editing the audio and then going through and editing the video to try and match the audio.
Yeah, all right, that's fair enough.
So, by uncut, I essentially just mean all the awkward pauses and mispronounced words and fumbles are left in.
And everyone like leaving to leave the room to deal with small children in the background.
Yes. Yeah, those are fun.
Well, welcome Adrian to the podcast for this evening, and we might kick off as we sometimes do by saying, what are we reading for this week? So Adrian, are you reading anything? Would you like to go first?
I'm actually reading a bit of Matthew Reilly at the minute.
Yes.
Those that listened last week would know that there was an email sent in by me about doing...
Oh, you're that Adrian!
I'm that Adrian!
Oh.
About reading books instead of scrolling through the phone. And so I had a medical appointment this week, and I made a conscious effort to take a book. And so I sat down and I read a book in the waiting room, and I'm reading Hell Island at the minute, which is a rather short book. It was written deliberately for younger, like teenage boys to read, but it's quick. And I figured, seeing I haven't read in a while, something that I could knock over in a very short amount of time would be a good idea, just to get momentum going.
Did you knock it over before your doctor even came out to call you? Because I've been to those types of appointments.
No, actually, I got one page in and then he called me, so I was quite frustrated about that, actually.
Oh my gosh.
What?
So,
You mean you weren't sitting around for 45 minutes?
No. But yeah, I'm having to read it in my lunch breaks instead.
Excellent.
Nice. All right. I have also read Hell Island. It's a good one.
Are there explosions?
Yeah, I love this book.
It's a Matthew Reilly book.
Of course there are explosions.
It opens with an explosion and goes from there. I think when he's plotting a book, he's like, explosion, why, ? And that is how he begins his books.
And sometimes he ignores the why. It's explosion.
It's just because.
Things just explode. Like, well, I've got a lot of things to say about Matthew Reilly. I'm a big fan of Matthew Reilly. I've met him twice now, just at Supernova to get some books signed. Lovely guy. Anyway, we've got a lot to say. We'll get to that because that is our foreshadowing, our topic for today. We are talking about airport fiction.
All right,
that is our topic for today. But no, we'll hold on to that for the future.
Are you reading anything new this week, Brayton, that you didn't speak about the last time we recorded?
Let's see. What did I talk about last time? I was reading Before the Coffee Got Cold, which is another very short book. So I finished that. It was good, not great, but I'd be interested to see where the sequels go because if you remember, if anyone was listening last week, it's about a coffee shop where if you sit in a specific chair and drink a cup of coffee, it sends you back in time. For you to do, you can't, there's certain rules, you can't change the present, you can't leave the chair, and you have to return before the coffee gets cold. And the story follows 4 characters. It's kind of split up into 4 short stories. And it follows all these characters as they go back in time for various reasons. Some of the stories left me a little bit unsatisfied in their conclusions. Like, I felt like there were some things that could have been expanded upon, or maybe a clearer resolution could have been.
Is it a series of books? I can't remember if you had mentioned
It
that
is, yeah. I
previously.
think there's three or four books that continue the series. But I don't think the last one, because it's a Japanese author, and I don't think the last one has been translated into English yet. But I might pick up the sequel at some point, but I do hear it's very samey. Like it doesn't really introduce anything new. It's just four more stories.
Right.
So yeah. And I started reading a book called The Goddess of Blood and Bone, which is an
Ooh.
independent author book that I picked up at Supernova, which I am currently Googling the name of the author because the book is in the other room and I don't want to walk out. Natty Kate Mason. I remember she's an author from Perth, and it's different for me because this book is a spicy book.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Like
Good stuff.
Fourth Wing.
Yes, and that's another one. I just finished listening to the audiobook of Iron Flame, which is the second book in I think they're called the Empyrean cycle, the Empyrean series. Oh, yeah. I don't know about Iron Flame. It really felt to me like it was half a book stretched across into a full book. Like
I
it
think
didn't,
it's one of those books where like it's specifically designed for a certain demographic of people who know what's coming.
yeah, and look, I knew it was gonna come because I've listened to the first one. And it's like the fantasy elements of it with the dragons and the battles and the whole conspiracy, I really did enjoy. And then the spicy scenes just really came abruptly and really actually like threw me out of it a little bit. Not because of any like I'm not very being prudish or anything like that. Like I can handle spicy scenes in books. That's no trouble. But it just always happened at the most inopportune times. Like there's this huge scene where they're finally revealing the truth about the conspiracies, blah blah blah, and she has a thought of, God, he looks so hot up there commanding everyone. Like, did you really need to add that in? Like, was that necessary?
Yes, yes, you did.
Apparently.
So the book I'm currently reading, I knew it was a spicy book going into it. I'm like, I can't let my only experience of this kind of, I think it's colloquially known as romantasy. It's
Yes.
like I can't let Fourth Wing and Iron Flame be my only reference points. So I've knuckled down and reading these ones, and this book at least is unapologetic about what type of book it is. Like from chapter one, it's like, yep, it's about demons and gods and spirits and all this kind of underworld stuff. But from like the first chapter, you're like, okay, this is the type of book you're getting into. It's not going to be thrown suddenly at me. Yep, let's do it. So I'm only a few chapters in, but for what it is, it's not usually my type of book, but I'm enjoying it for what it is.
Look, Brayton, if you want like, something spicy, I've got some
I am not, unfortunately, as attracted to David Tennant and Michael Sheen as you are.
I've got some Good Omens fan fiction for you if you like. So apart from that, what
So
I've been reading
Eloise,
this
what
week.
Good Omens fan fiction have you been reading this past
Too
fortnight?
much, too much. Okay, here's a funny story. We were watching the Olympics last night. It was just like we just sometimes pop it on TV before we go to bed, and the beach volleyball was on, and Alex, my husband, asks me, "Oh, do you know how many like points? Like, how's the scoring work in this? Like, I don't really understand how the scoring works." I'm like, "Oh, yes, I do know. In fact, so what happens is that you have to get to 25." But you have to be at least 2 points ahead of the other team. So if you get to 25, but they're on 24, then you have to get to 26, or else it just basically keeps going until you're either 25 or over 25, but more than 2 points ahead of the other team. And it's round of three, so best of three. It's like, oh, okay. I'm like, you know how I know that? Read it in a Good Omens fan fiction that was based. It was a human AU at the Olympics. And Yeah, I was just like, I don't know what's wrong with my life. And he's like, it's fine. You're enjoying things. So like, yep.
You enjoy things.
I do enjoy things.
Look, no
Oh,
judgment. Whatever makes you happy.
at least you're not, I'm sure there's probably at least 4 or 5 people judging me right now who are listening. But seriously, the thing that I am reading this week, I'm still reading Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman. It's a bit weirdly structured, I have to say. Like the chapters are very short. They sort of switch between a lot of different character POVs very quickly. One of them, and I don't know if it's going to change later on in the book or if it changes in future books, but like one of the POVs is the diary of one of the characters. And I just find that really odd that it would just be one character diary and that's her only POV, whereas no one else writes in diary form. And it also switches like tenses as well in terms of past tense, present tense. Like most of it's written in past tense, but then the chapter I just read is written in present tense, like the action is happening as you read. And I don't know, it's just a little bit jarring. So but the mystery has commenced. So I'm interested to keep reading just to see how the rest of it goes. I don't know if I will pick up the rest of the sequel series if I'm not all that fussed about this particular one. But yeah, so that's what I've been reading this week. Brayton, we've lost your audio.
Sorry, I had the microphone on mute. My bad. I was looking up your book just to see if I always like it's my ADHD brain because I need to know if Wikipedia says anything about how it was written, but there isn't any additional information. Because I'm very interested in how some authors like choose to write like the POV, how they choose to do that. Because I think the most interesting one I read was what is it? Harrow the Ninth, which a lot of the book is written in second person, which is like you walked to the door and you opened the door and you walked into the garden.
Yeah, I find second person very strange, like
Which within the
literally
context
putting
of the
yourself in the story.
within the context of the book, by the end, it is revealed and actually how that's happening, and it actually makes sense in universe.
Mm.
But I won't spoil the book because the books are really good. The Gideon the Ninth is the first one, Harrow the Ninth, then Nona the Ninth, the third one, and there's a fourth one coming out soon, I think, which is going to complete the story. But to summarize how the internet sums up those stories, it's lesbian necromancers in space.
Wonderful.
Yeah, they are actually very good.
Brilliant description.
Okay, shall we get to some listener emails?
We shall.
And Adrian, you're here, and this one is actually about your email that you wrote in.
Wonderful.
So this is again from Sylvia. Hey, Sylvia.
Sylvia, hello.
And let me get it up. Where are we? Whoops, wrong button. There it is. Okay, so she says, hello there. Some suggestions for reading more. Because clearly we missed some. Number 1, book clubs. If there's none near you, find one online. That's good. I don't think I could handle the pressure of a book club.
No, I would not read the book I'm supposed to read at all in the time that I'm supposed to read it, and I would have to make things up, which wouldn't be great.
We just watched an episode, that really old episode of The Simpsons when Bart fakes his book report. He was supposed to do Treasure Island and all he does is look at the front cover and goes, it's about pirates with eye patches and green birds on their shoulders.
He's not wrong.
Well, he is actually. There's no pirates in Treasure Island. I mean, sorry, there's no.
What? There's no pirates in Treasure Island.
There's no parrots.
I think you read the wrong version of that book.
Pretty sure. Oh, now I don't know if I'm saying the right. I'm sure there's no parrots in Treasure Island.
I immediately thought of the Malcolm in the Middle episode where their mum, I can't remember their mum's name in Malcolm in the Middle.
Lois.
It is Lois?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
I thought Lois, but I'm thinking Family Guy.
No,
Anyway,
Lois does right.
Lois? Okay, let's assume it's Lois. I could
I
Google
think
it
now.
the one time that I'm not going to Google something. It's just as a matter of principle. Um, yeah, she joins a book club and goes there and wants to discuss the book, but then it turns out the book club is just a chance for people to get together and drink wine.
I like that kind of book club.
Sign me up.
Yeah, so book clubs I think are definitely a great idea. I just don't have the time to read the book in the time limit that would be given.
Oh, well, you know what you should do? You should join a book club.
Oh yeah, of course.
Actually, Gallery of Modern Art, Goma here in Brisbane has a book club if anyone is interested in joining that. So they do a book of the month every month. I don't. I could probably join it as part of my membership, but I don't. It's usually like stuff I'm not really particularly interested in.
No, but yeah, there's definitely online ones. I know Facebook, pretty sure Instagram, Reddit, all have different options to join book clubs if that's something you're interested in. Number 2, ignore marketing, Bookstagram, TikTok, and the like. Their aim isn't that you enjoy a book, it's that you buy and talk about it. Whether you enjoy it or not, it's not their concern. Absolutely.
Robots talking to robots.
That's
Got to feed those
all it is.
algorithms.
And that's the thing with, like, I hate to admit it, but that's one of the only reasons I read Fourth Wing and Iron Flame is because Book Talk told me that these books you have to read, otherwise you're going to miss out on something spectacular. They're all right. They're a good mindless. Actually, okay. One of the real reasons I read Iron Flame, because I just finished listening to The Rise and Fall of the Third Reich on audiobook, and that was a very heavy book.
So you needed some smut.
I know. It was great. It was like if you're gonna read a book about the rise and fall of the Third Reich, written by a guy who lived through the rise and fall of the Third Reich, that is a brilliant book to read. It was awesome. Very heavy subject matter,
Yes.
clearly. So I got to the end of that and went, I need something a little bit mindless now. I should listen to the Fourth Wing sequel. And this is where we ended up.
What a great way to advertise that book. It's great as a palate cleanser after reading about Nazis.
You can think of a better way to cleanse your palate after spending, how long was that book? Like 50 something hours?
I would assume it
Because
would be long.
I did audiobooks. It was like 50, off the top of my head, it was like 52 or 53 hours.
But I mean, that's a history novel. It's not really a story. Is it a memoir or is it like literally like a textbook?
It's a historical, it's a non-fiction history book.
Yeah.
He just goes from here's where like Nazis started and this is what they went through and this is where they ended. And everything
how
in between.
Similar to how things are going today, is it?
Yeah, let's not get into that.
Okay. Let's not talk about literal Nazis marching through Brisbane CBD today, apparently.
What?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. This is not what the podcast is about.
It was a thing. Let's move on.
Let's move on. Yeah, so ignore marketing, Bookstagram, TikTok. I agree. What about you guys?
Yeah, like admittedly, I don't particularly read books because I've seen like an advertisement on social media, I have to say. Like I think if I'm going to read something, it's probably through word of mouth of friends. Just the book, I read the blurb, it looked interesting and it had one of those staff picks recommendation tags underneath it, and I read the description of it and I went, that sounds like a really good book, and then I read the blurb, I'm like, this sounds like a really good book, and I just bought it and I haven't started reading it yet.
I lost you both for a second there.
Oh, okay.
Oh, now I'm getting a warning. My internet connection is unstable.
You need better internet.
Oh, God. If only.
I lost you earlier as well, but I don't know if that meant
Yeah,
that your
hold on.
connection was off or if it was mine.
Give me a second. I'm just changing some settings.
Okay.
See, anyone watching on YouTube is going to see all of this stuff.
They're going to
They're
see
going to
me
see
repeat things.
you guys awkwardly pause for about 10 seconds, just shutting down programs that might be interfering. Okay, so what book was that?
Well, funnily enough, I've forgotten the name of it. It's on my nightstand. It's terrible. So
Okay, cool.
yes,
Doesn't matter.
I read it. Oh no, I didn't read it. I bought it because I was just wandering through Dimmicks the other day. I saw the staff recommendation little tag thing underneath the book. The book looked interesting. I read the blurb. I thought to myself, this sounds fantastic. It's basically like a secret society that the Queen has invented. That is a supernatural society or fight super. I'm not describing this very well at all. But it
I
looked
would.
interesting, and I remember thinking to myself, I want to read this book, and I've bought it, but I'm finishing off Thursday Murder Club first.
I just had best idea, not best idea, but I'd love it if the book was about the Queen developing a secret society to investigate and fight paranormal, intrusions into this realm. And they find none. There's nothing paranormal happening at all, and they just have to keep trying to justify their existence.
Funnily enough, literally what the Nazis did.
Stop talking about Nazis, Eloise.
Sorry, you brought it up.
And then we've got next one was uninstall social media. If you hadn't installed any, keep it that way. You can still check it from their website without having it open all the time.
Very true.
Which is exactly what you were talking about, Adrian.
Well, yeah. Yeah, well, yes. I'm horrible with any kind of technology, so, But yeah, social media is awful. I just lose so much time to social media. And you don't even realize it. So I'm going to check it for 2 seconds. 2 hours later, and you're like, oh, what? I did nothing in that time. How is that possible?
Yeah,
crazy.
It is.
That's very true. I went down one of those rabbit holes myself today where I was just like, I'll just check this for 5 minutes. And then half an hour later, oh no, where's my morning gone?
Yep. And
Yep,
you check the thing you're going to check.
Yep, I literally did the same thing after getting home from being out all day today. Just I'm just going to lie down on the bed and just have 5 minutes before I have to get up and do other things. And oh, it's been 45 minutes. Whoops. My bad. Next one is libraries. The more you visit, the better. Yep, they're free. Take on a book out of your usual scope, or a comic or an audio book. Everything counts.
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of audiobooks because in my work, I work alone. So I'm able to stick in an earbud and just listen to audiobooks while I'm working. So I find that to be a good way to consume reading content.
Like I said before, I have an hour usually to and from work. So it's a good 2 to 2 and a bit hours a day of an audiobook I can get through. Plus, I like to listen on like 1.8 times speed.
I can't do that. I find that.
I thought that was something weird.
Yeah.
Set my head weird.
No, I looking. If I go back to like normal speed, it just sounds like they're talking in a snail's pace. Like too slow. Get to the point.
I sometimes accidentally hit the little fast button on a podcast if I'm listening to it, like if I'm fumbling around with my phone trying to put it back in my pocket or something, and then all of a sudden I'm thinking, why are they speaking so quickly? Yeah, I can't deal with that, so I wouldn't be able to listen to an audiobook twice as fast, I don't think. And I've mentioned this before, I can't really get into audiobooks. Like I prefer podcasts. Like I listen to a lot of podcasts that are fictional stories, that like long form stories, but for whatever reason, I just find it doesn't translate for me to audiobooks. So I do prefer to have something in my hand. And even like e-readers I find really difficult as well, to maintain focus. So got to be physical book or nothing for me.
Fair enough. I just realized not that Sylvia's email isn't great, but we're spending a lot of time on it, and we didn't even, not even, we might not get to the point of why Adrian's on here right now. So I'm just going to speed through these next ones on 1.8 times speed. Just stop me if you have anything exciting to say. But I think everything here from what I've read is very true. Don't look down on a story or author because it's been classified in a certain genre. There are awesome works out there under categories like children, adventure, mystery, and romance.
Young adults. It doesn't just have to be for young adults.
Yep. Shadow and Bone series, read through. That's young adult. It's good. Find someone you respect their opinion but don't agree 100% with your preferences. You might find yourselves recommending each other some surprising stuff. That's a good one. It's going to step out of your comfort zone. Reading non-fiction is still reading. Absolutely. I like to do a lot of non-fiction with my audiobooks. That's where I get my non-fiction fix sometimes. I'm listening to a non-fiction one right now about how nihilism can actually improve your life. Just being completely nihilistic.
Sure.
Yeah, it's called The Sunny Nihilist.
I have heard of that actually.
Yes, she's a Melbourne journalist wrote it. It's really good. I recommend it. There is no shame in reading one page or even a paragraph here and there. There's no rush. There's no final exams for it. Take your time. Yep, 1 page a day is plenty if that's all you have time for. Consider reading shorter stuff like tales, poems, comics, and graphic novels. Yep. The world won't fall apart if you don't take on every notification coming in. Set your phone, laptop, tablet, wherever to only show a couple of contacts or apps that you deem essential and mute the rest.
That's a good idea.
That is a good one. Set timers for social media, especially at night. When the alarm rings, leave the app website and don't come back. Needs discipline, but works.
Actually, that's a really good idea. Maybe I should start implementing that.
Yep. You can, I don't know the names of any of these apps, but you can download them and set it from so you can set it from okay, from 7 p.m., this phone can no longer access Facebook.
Oh, that's a good idea.
And it will turn back on at 6 o'clock the next morning. I think it's intended for children and stuff like that, so you can control when they can access certain apps or programs, but it also works as a discipline tool if you need it.
To stop you from thinking, but someone's wrong on the internet.
I must tell them they're wrong.
On the internet? No.
When nowadays, if someone's wrong on the internet, they're probably a bot.
That's why I don't argue with anyone on the internet anymore.
It's not worth it.
Nope.
And finally, curate your social media to include some book-loving folks. It helps to break with the, oh, nobody I know reads, so I won't. That's a good one.
I found that even with this podcast, by listening to this podcast, it inspired me to get back into reading because, I was around people that didn't read. So
perfect.
To listen to people talking about books, I'm like, I miss books.
I got back into it by following a lot of YouTube channels that talked about books and reviewed books, and it just seemed so nice.
Yeah. I want a bit of that.
Yeah, and here we are. She says, personally, it's very difficult for me focusing on a screen, especially when it comes to reading, but I find it useful to download samples. I use Apple Books. It saved me from a number of disappointments and waste. But also bought in a number of books I wouldn't have read otherwise. Often I like a sample enough, I get the paper if I like a sample enough, I get the paper version, either borrowed or bought. Due disclaimer, I am one of those people who can read and sleep literally anywhere, not at the same time. With any
that would be a skill.
With any sort of environment or background, just so you know, I am so jealous. I wish I could do that.
Mm-hmm.
Finally, just want to say I would absolutely love a rant on The Great Gatsby. I see no problem with that.
Julian's not on this week, but I'm sure we can advocate for him.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
Also, sorry if my email about Lovecraft sounded like I was trying to justify him. That wasn't my intention, and I probably should have added a bit more to my email to make it clear. I agree with Eloise. Why wasting our lives? Why are we wasting our lives hating each other?
Thank you, Sylvia.
I think that's all for now. I think, kind regards, Sylvia. P.S. I didn't know you lost someone recently. I didn't mean to be insensitive or anything. Sending hugs to everyone. I'm sorry you're going through this. I didn't think you were insensitive at all. But thank you very much, Sylvia. All good tips there, and I'm sure people can get something out of that. Now, Adrian,
Hi.
why do you like reading about airports?
Well, they're fascinating. People coming and going, aeroplanes going all over the world. I assume that's not what we're talking about, but
I
No,
assumed that no, that's not what you're on the podcast for to talk about, Adrian.
no, we were going to talk about airport fiction or airport novels, airport books. There's lots of different names.
yeah.
Do you want to give a brief description of what this quote unquote genre is, or do you
As I
have a
understand, as I understand it, it's books that are easy to read, tend to be of a medium sort of size length. They're not too short, generally speaking, because if you've got a long flight, you don't want a 100-page book, otherwise won't get very far. But they're very self-contained stories, fast-paced, almost like a movie written down in a book.
Yeah.
Generally in the genres of action, adventure, or historical romance was the definition I actually read earlier in doing some preparation for this
Oh
evening.
wow, so professional.
Sure.
Yeah, that's pretty much the definition I read too.
Yay, Wiki.
Woohoo! Yeah. Um, definitely, yeah. Books the when I think of it, it's books that just are so they're not like when I say a book's easy to read, sometimes people think like it's aimed down like to younger, but that's not it at all, is it? It's
No, it's a pacing thing.
yeah,
I think it's a pacing thing. It's just, it flows. It keeps you going, what's going on? What's going on? And you just keep wanting to read it.
yeah.
Um,
Well,
Matthew
let's talk.
Reilly,
Yeah, I was
yeah,
about to say we touched on that earlier with Matthew Reilly starting his planning process by here's an explosion, what caused it and why.
yeah.
Sometimes, like you
He
said, he doesn't answer the why. There's just an
No,
explosion.
it's not important. Like his style is well, he says that he writes only what's interesting. Like
Hmm.
we don't need to know about a character's grandmother if she doesn't appear in the story. We don't need to know about the street they grew up on unless it's relevant to the story.
Yeah,
There are certain authors, Stephen King could be bad for this, that they will dedicate a page, a paragraph, a chapter to their childhood home and the street and the color of all the roofs, which is fine. It builds atmosphere, but often in the airport style fiction, they don't do that. This is what's happening. This is what you need to know about what's happening. This is what you need to know about who it's happening to. Let's get on with the fun.
yes. I think what encapsulates that is at the end of all his books, there's always a little interview with Matthew Reilly where some omniscient person or being is asking him questions and he's writing out the answers to.
Mm.
I want now I think of it, I wonder if he's just asking himself
I had
questions.
the exact same thought as you said. I'm like, I never thought of it before, but I bet you he's
Yeah,
doing it for himself.
yeah.
I
But I
always
always
think,
remember, yes, he said in one interview, and I think that encapsulates that, is that he hates wasting words in a story.
yeah,
And
yeah,
when he's down to like his second to last draft or something, he said he'll go through and cross out any wasted words.
yeah. If
And
it's
in
not
that
relevant,
way,
it's gone.
yeah. And exactly, and when you said that about how it's a pacing thing, I immediately thought of Stephen King,
Yeah.
and especially a book like The Stand.
Oh, yes.
Which I read Stephen King. I really quite like reading
Yeah.
Stephen King as well. It's just
Mm.
very different type of writing. I have to be in the mood for that. Whereas
Yep.
9 times out of 10, I'll be in the mood for Matthew Reilly or Jeffrey Deaver or some of these more airport fiction style writers.
Yes. And he doesn't yeah, it's all about moving from one set piece to the next, to the next, to the next. Sometimes at
Mhm.
breakneck speed.
Sometimes at an impossible speed. Sometimes it's like, how has all of this happened in a 12-hour period? But yeah, sometimes you just have to go, okay, this is what's happening. Cool, let's go with it.
Yep. And
I have
he,
to admit, the only Matthew Reilly book I've actually read is the one where there are dragons. So
the Great Zoo of China.
yes, that's the one. So oh, you've got it on the
There
back.
it is.
Yes. Uh,
People watching on YouTube getting all the goss.
I love how it just starts with the main character coming to the park, and he's been like, "You guys have like seen Jurassic Park, haven't you?" And then immediately the dragons get out.
Yeah.
There's like no pause
I don't think he
whatsoever.
could have written that book without putting a lantern on that and going, yeah, this is a Jurassic Park with dragons.
It's exactly it. And the fact he hung the lantern on it so early on,
Yeah.
he's just like, yep, I know this is Jurassic Park with dragons. Here I am acknowledging it's Jurassic Park with dragons. Now let's get over it and let's keep
Yeah.
going.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but like, and the way it's different from Jurassic Park is, at least with Jurassic Park, it sort of builds up to the point where the dinosaurs get loose, whereas this is like they get out immediately.
That's where it gets fun. So that's where he started.
Yeah, there's the explosion.
We don't want to know about the people that are, coming to the park. We want dragons eating people. That's what we want. Let's get on
We
with it.
do.
Yes, and
Let's
if
get
you've
to know the characters enough so that we care if they get eaten. Beyond that, that's nothing.
Did we
yep,
care when they got eaten though?
some,
Sometimes though.
sometimes here's maybe a thing with airport fiction books is that maybe it's a critique or a criticism of them, but sometimes the characterization of the characters, I guess the characterization of the characters, said it again, is very shallow.
Mm.
Yes, it can be because they don't have a lot of time. Like it would lose the essence of the genre if they went into that. Like that's what keeps that pacing.
Yes, and
Is the,
yeah, if you're a villain in this story, it's you're a villain because of A, and that's it. There's no
yeah,
B, there's no C. It's your
you're a villain
role in
because you're doing this bad thing.
yes, and usually it's a very simple reason, like I'm going to blow up this dam because I want the power
Yeah.
Yeah,
for
I
whatever that
think
means.
the lead child Jack Reacher stuff is a
Mm,
fairly good example of that. That he has a fairly one-note villains. They
yeah,
tend to be the guy that runs the local sawmill that is also up to something criminal, like be it people smuggling or something like that. And that's it. There's people smuggler. Jack's going to sort them out because they've done something to someone somewhere that's ticked him off.
yes,
I
and
feel
that
like we get a lot of that type of criticism, especially with the MCU, for example, where most of the villains in an MCU film are very like one-dimensional characters, where it's just like, here's villain, they are evil for the sake of being evil, or like how the YouTuber Ryan George, who does pitch meetings, would say. It's like, oh, and what's this guy's deal? He's evil. And why is he evil? Because, well, all right then. So, but I don't, do we really need anything more than that? Like, do we really need like this complete
Especially on the comic book
backstory?
movie.
Here's the thing. I hate the idea, for example, with the Hunger Games, where that they've now written a prequel novel in relation to who's the president,
Snow.
President Snow, how he grew up and why he turned into the horrible person that he was. I'm just like, don't justify it. Don't
I don't
give
care.
him some kind of redeeming features of, oh, let's feel sorry for this absolute fascist maniac. Like, don't do that. He's just a horrible person. We don't need to feel sorry for him. I don't know, maybe I'm being mean. But
I think if it comes down to, especially when we're talking about airport fiction, we're looking at something that is archetypal. Like that is,
Yep.
it relies very heavily on tropes and archetypes.
Yeah.
This guy is bad because he's a Nazi, or he's bad because he does this particular bad thing, or whatever. And here's our good guy who is good because he makes all these right decisions. And because he's made these particular right decisions, the fact that he's now killing people and doing all this other horrible stuff is no longer important because he's the good guy.
And
Because
the
if you
thing,
were to break Reacher down, he's a mass murderer in the books. Like, he kills a lot of people, but for good reasons.
and I was about to say, I'm thinking of the first season of Reacher. Like, I have not, full disclosure, I have not read the Reacher books. I have
Yeah.
seen the first 2 seasons of the Amazon show. And
Mm.
as far as I know, the seasons are pretty faithful to the stories.
Fairly so, yeah.
Yes.
I'm not. It's been a long time since I read the one that this first season was based on, and I've never read the one that
Okay.
because I'm reading through an order, and I just haven't got to that one yet.
Yeah, the second season, they
It's
jumped
like based
ahead.
on like a book that's like 7 or 8 or something. It's
Yeah.
fair way
But,
down.
and yeah, the thing that and you're right that yeah, airport fiction books are definitely a trope. Like, you could describe any plot of pick a random book and you can kind of guess the beats
Yeah,
and guess what exactly is going to happen.
yeah.
But and like you said, the good guy is a good guy no matter what. And the thing that struck me is, especially with Reacher in that first season, is that he's just passing through this town. Like, he has no stake in anyone or anything. But he's
No.
like, oh, there's a bad guy doing bad things here. I'm a good guy. I'm going to go sort that out.
Well, the first one was based on the death of his brother.
Oh, yes, he was too. I
So
forgot
that
about
was
that.
the thing that ticked him off. That something happens, it always happens. He comes into a town,
Yeah.
and either he's connected with like he's been hitchhiking, and the person that's picked him up, he's connected with them, and then something bad's happened to them. So
Well, I guess we could say
he goes and deals
there's
with them.
always a convenient, coincidental.
Precipitating factor that gets
Yes.
him involved, and then once he's involved, he does whatever legal/illegal things are required to make things right.
Yeah, sorry,
Which
that's
generally means
yeah, that's on me. I completely forgot about his brother at the start of that first season. That's on me.
that's cool. That's fine. But yeah, that was the precipitating factor in that one, and that was actually quite different when you actually read the books. Like the first few were very much just he went into town, he was picked up by a pretty lady in a car, found out something horrible was happening to her, went to get involved and found this sordid story, beneath the surface of this quiet American town, and proceeded to kill everyone until the story. But it was awesome. You're watching you go, kill them all, reading it, kill them all. But
Turns out,
yeah,
if you kill 50 people, it makes a right.
apparently so.
It's a magic number of dead people to get to.
It's good to know that.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I know I'm sounding critical, but I absolutely love those books. I love the character of Reacher. I think it's an excellent character, but again, it's still all very trope based. And yeah, you can sort of tell where it's going to go. And there's not really any stakes as far as Reacher getting hurt, because he's essentially bulletproof. In fact, in one of the books at the end, a doctor actually says if you were to design if a computer was going to design a bulletproof human being, it would be you. Your muscle structure basically makes you bulletproof. And I'm just
How
like,
convenient for the story.
okay, sure, why not?
Yep. And yeah,
but then you look at Alan Richardson and go, yeah, no, I get it.
Yeah. And I think that's potentially another trope with airport fiction books, is that the main characters are very nearly superhuman.
If
They're
not
all
actually superhuman.
Yeah, they're always like a genius at everything they try.
Mm-hmm.
They're
Think Shane
always
Schofield in the Scarecrow books.
Yes, I was just thinking that he just happens to be which one is it? I think it's actually in the book titled Scarecrow.
Which is
They
the one
need
where too much happens in 12 hours.
Yes. Where I'm going to get into slight spoilers here of a book I read, oh God, years and years ago, if I'm remembering correctly. But there's missiles that are being shot at various targets around the Earth, but they're designed with a special failsafe where to stop them, you need to be able to essentially do a memory game of pressing lights, but very, very, very quickly.
And there's
And
only
it,
like 13 people in the world that have passed a test that have
yep,
proved they
and
have to pass to tests for that.
and believe it or not, our main character in the book is one of those people that can do that.
It was helpful. It was good. Otherwise, it'd be a very boring book.
Yeah. So, and yeah, I think the premise of the book is that people are killing off
The
the
13.
the people that can do it, and he just happens to be like the last one left, and is
Yeah.
the only one on Earth that can stop this catastrophe from happening because he has just superhuman reflexes.
Yeah. Scarecrow is nigh on superhuman in all of his
Yep,
outing.
yep. Even with, have you read the Jack West Jr. books?
Like the ones
Seven
that are
Ancient
on
One.
Muppet. Yeah.
Yep,
I've read up to 5,
yep,
which is meaning 765.
yeah. Okay. Well, I think it's in the first one of those, which is the Seven Ancient Wonders. We're going to be talking a lot about Matthew Reilly, I feel, because I think that's the one we have both read a lot of.
Yes.
Eloise
Yeah.
is just going to sit there and smile and nod
I'll
as
just sit
we,
here and smile.
Julian in this
Yep.
instance.
yeah,
I
as
should
we kind
probably
of,
read more Matthew Reilly. I was actually going to say as well, thinking about it, the James Bond novels were originally written as airport fiction.
Yeah, and I really enjoy those as well.
Yep.
I think I do have a gravitate towards those books where there is a nigh on supernatural male lead that can do things that no one else can do, and
actually, yeah, James
amazing
Bond
things
is the
happen.
perfect archetype of an airport fiction character.
Yeah.
He's strong, he's smart, he's fast, he's attractive.
He
He
always
knows
has the exact gadget that he needs for
Yep,
that particular mission. I always notice. Or is
yep.
that? I think that's more of a movie trope actually, rather than
Oh,
in the novels.
no, it happened. It
No, the books
happens
are in
in
the book.
airport novels too. They will
Yeah,
get a new piece of technology at the start of the book, and then right at the climax, oh my goodness, I
that's the
haven't
perfect
used
thing.
this the
How
entire
lucky!
600 pages, but right now I have the perfect time to use this to save the world.
And swinging straight back to Matthew Reilly and Shane Schofield, the mag hook.
The get out of jail free card.
Yeah, if you're stuck, shoot a mag hook at it.
Yep. Lost you for a second there, but you're back.
Yeah.
Yeah, shoot a mag hook at anything,
Yep.
even if it's not okay.
Crocodile, wall.
He does shoot it at a
Agent
crocodile
statue.
in one
He
book,
does.
doesn't he?
Yes, he does.
For anyone that it doesn't know, a mag hook is essentially a grappling hook, but the hook itself can be turned magnetic on and
Ah,
off.
I
So
was
you can,
wondering what you were talking about.
Essentially,
so
it looks bulbous, like it just looks like a ball. But then when it hits it, and have either be magnetic or it can have retractable talons that'll make it into more of a standard grappling.
Okay, because I
yeah,
was about to say, how would that work on a crocodile? Pretty sure
Because
crocodiles aren't magnetic.
he shoots it at the crocodile's mouth. As the crocodile bites on it, he opens the talons and
yeah,
bang.
Of course.
Yeah.
yeah. But it is definitely the get out of jail free card for any situation in those books.
Yeah, yeah. If he didn't have a mag hook, he would be dead by now. That's
Yeah,
pretty much.
absolutely. And I mean,
It
it
works, and it works. I'm going to keep using it. People like it.
yeah, I mean, and it does sound like we're kind of criticizing these things, but no.
I love it. I love this stuff,
Yes,
and I love how stupid it is.
it is
Sometimes you
it is
just need
the
explosions and mag hooks, apparently.
yeah, it is the book equivalent of putting on a dumb action movie that you know is stupid, but you need 90 minutes to turn your brain off and watch explosions.
Yeah, that's
This is
exactly what it is.
this is what airport fiction is in the world of reading.
It
And there
actually
is
astounds me that more of Matthew Reilly's books haven't been adapted into films yet.
I don't think any of them have actual books.
no, none of his books have been adapted. He did write and direct a movie for Netflix.
Yeah, which I haven't seen,
No,
but I imagine it's somewhat B grade.
I find that
It definitely
astounding
is.
considering how much, like how many standardized action films there are out there, and no one's thought to like tap into Matthew Reilly's novels yet.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. No one seems to want to touch them. He's had even a lot of trouble selling the rights to them.
Yep. Disney bought the rights to Hovercar Racer, but unfortunately, those, I think, from what I
It's
remember,
everything you would expect it to be.
Yeah.
Okay. Hovercar Racer, the best bit of there it is. Yep. Hovercar Racer. The best bit of world building is that in the near future, the Australian government got into so much debt, they sold Tasmania.
That sounds plausible.
Tasmania is a private island in this future.
Sold
Oh,
to this racing corporation that runs these hovercar races.
Yep.
And it follows a 13-year-old boy that wants to become a hovercar race
Yep.
driver.
And if you feel like you've heard this story before, you have.
You have.
You have. Yeah, but Disney bought the rights for that book, and I think I remember reading somewhere it actually went through a couple of script revisions and changes, and then it just kind of got stuck and didn't progress any further.
Which could well mean that it gets pulled out of the vault at some point, but at this stage,
I believe the rights have reverted back to Matthew.
have they?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but you're right. Like these books will all make decent action movies
I
if they
think
were
that
adapted.
Yeah, I think the trouble is, and this is me talking with no film experience at all and very limited knowledge of the film industry, but the movies have the potential to be very expensive, but for not much reward. Because
I
if
don't know
they,
that there would be that much reward because they're like a lot of them are New York bestsellers, so you do have that.
it just depends if it's a crappy movie, which it
But
has
it has to be done well.
it has the potential to be a not well reviewed movie.
Yeah, like when he wrote Shane Schofield, like he says he often has an actor in mind when he writes it, and he wrote it in mind with Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
So all of the Scarecrow books would essentially be Tom Cruise movies.
Yeah.
So on that scale, they'd be on that Mission Impossible kind of scale of movie is what those books would be.
Yeah.
If they were actually translated.
And I mean, Tom Cruise did 2 Jack Reacher movies.
Which he should not have.
No.
They're not terrible movies. In fact, they're actually reasonably faithful to the book's plot-wise. But Tom,
he's just miscast.
he is not Jack. No, he is not Reacher. Alan Richardson, Reacher. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, unequivocally. But yeah, like he's meant to be like 6'4", 6'5". He's meant to be this hulking guy that is the scary thing in the alleyways at night. And Tom Cruise looks like something you could tuck into your sock drawer.
Yeah. Yeah, because
Amazing.
I guess Shane Schofield isn't meant to be a muscular kind of guy. He's strong but lean, very athletic.
He does a lot of running. Like he'd rival the Doctor for the amount of running he does. Just bringing you into the conversation, Eloise.
The Doctor runs a lot.
Yes.
But yeah, to bring it back, Matthew Reilly's film Interceptor is not a good movie by any objective standards, but if you're a fan of his work, definitely check it out.
It feels like a Matthew Reilly bit of work.
Because you know it's a Matthew Reilly book when you're 10 minutes into the movie. One character has mildly been introduced, but we know nothing about, and this is our main character. We know nothing about her or anything like that, but we're already into a gunfight. 10 minutes into the movie.
Yeah, that's about right.
And she kind of just senses there's something off about this one guy, and then suddenly pistols are drawn and they're in a gunfight. And that is how it starts.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. It is a Matthew Reilly movie.
Yeah. And that's exactly how all his novels run.
Yep.
There's limited times where you would go, wow, that's a moment of actual character development that gets to me.
Yeah.
There are some examples. I won't go into them too much because, spoilers.
Yes.
But there are definitely some moments in the books where unexpected people die and various things happen. You're like,
Yep.
have you are you right? Just no, I shouldn't be crying in a Matthew Reilly book.
But here, this is what I was going to bring up before, and in all these kind of books, and I'm sure it's the same with like the Reacher books, or I think who else? James Patterson books would be on the
Yeah,
list.
James Patterson,
What's his name? He does all the Tom Clancy.
Tom Clancy, Jeffrey Deaver,
Yeah,
um,
Clive Cluster.
I listened to one recently by someone I can't think of who it was. But even Jurassic Park is considered airport fiction.
Yes.
Um,
And what I was going to say is we talked about how the characters are always very paper thin,
yeah,
and that's just the trope. You expect that. But the characters that carry over into the other books, like the sequels or stuff like that, over time, you do
you
grow
do get
attached.
you
You
do,
do.
and you do get some character development, and you do start going, oh, he's doing that because of what happened in the second book.
Yes.
But in and of itself, airport fiction is designed to be a standalone book.
Yeah.
Even though they might be in a series with characters, they are designed to be standalones. They are designed that if you are in an airport and your phone has gone flat and you're looking for something to do for your flight, that you could go to the bookstore and buy one of these books and read them on your flight and have a good time.
Yeah.
And not need any other information to enjoy it.
Mm.
And so they do that, but yes, you are right. That especially like your reaches, because there's so many of those books.
Yeah.
And but they do go into some of his histories in some of the books. So you do start to go, oh, I sort of get why he is the way he is over time.
But oftentimes those recurring characters will only ever refer to things that happened in the previous books.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's very rare that you'll get, remember, unless it is part of the active storyline they are currently in and relevant to it, they're not going to go, oh, remember that time 6 years ago we went on that fishing trip and we talked. No. It's going to be, remember that time when we went back and we blew up that factory. This is how it's relevant right now to our situation.
Yeah. This is the same guy, and again, they very rarely do that because they do try to keep it insular, but it does happen. And like you do have sequels and of stuff, and but yeah, no, they tend to be very insular stories, which is good because I forget what I've read in the previous books.
Yeah, when you're reading them,
because you read them fast.
You do.
You read them the same way you watch an action movie. In the sense of it goes in, you go, ooh, bang, dopamine.
Yep.
Put the book down, that was fun.
Yep.
What did I just read? I think there was a crocodile in it.
And they shot a grappling hook at it for some reason.
Yeah, I mean, that may not have actually happened in the book. I may just be remembering it wrong.
No, you said it, and it I can't remember the scene or why, but you said it, and it just jogged a memory and went, yep, that happened.
Yes, it did. I know that it did because it's in one of those scenes I mentioned that actually can get to you and make you cry. That was the death of an unexpected person, and that was his response to it.
Oh, it was too. Oh, it's all coming back to me.
Yeah. Don't think about it. Don't think about it. Don't think about Fox. Yeah. So, but
it's those books. Yeah, it's those books that you. It's those books that you can sit down and suddenly you start it and suddenly you're 100 pages in and don't know where the time's gone.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and you're just enjoying the ride of it.
And you've missed your flight. Oh, no.
Whoops.
Don't think that's happened to me yet.
So
you take so many flights, Adrian.
I did at one point.
Yeah.
So I actually got into airport fiction was actually buying it in airports.
That is true. That was
because it was before smartphones, so I didn't have anything else to do, and I would either buy a crossword book or a novel to do while I was waiting for the airplane. And then when we were at uni, I was doing the same thing. I was the trains going. was doing like 2 hours on public transport each way.
Yep.
So I was reading books or doing crossword puzzles.
That's right. And you'd have to wait around for your train for ages as well, because the Rosewood train was only like once an hour or something.
Yes, it
wasn't
was. And so rarely did it line up. so rarely. Often it was like, oh, there goes Rosewood. All right, time to buy a new book.
I just had the random thought, Eloise, that here we are sitting in airports waiting for our flights, reading about explosions and stuff. And yet at the same
Most of
time,
the flights.
Lin-Manuel Miranda was reading about Hamilton and having ideas for the stage production that would shoot him into stardom.
Oh, we need
So
to take more flights, clearly.
I believe it was in an airport he started reading the Hamilton biography.
Oh, okay. I hadn't heard that.
Pretty sure he started reading an airport and went, oh, Hamilton.
I could totally make a rap musical.
Yes.
This.
I mean,
Okay.
that was my first thought when I saw it. But,
So clearly we need a Reach a rap musical.
I'd watch it, especially if Alan was the main character.
I would 100% watch that. All right. So, Adrian,
That's me.
if someone was new to this kind of genre, where would you want them to start? What is a recommendation you would give to start with?
I guess it would depend on the person and the sorts of things they're into.
What about Eloise? Clearly hasn't read many of this stuff. If Eloise came to you and said, Adrian, I want to read this, where would you send her?
Yes, Adrian, tell me, where should I go first?
Well, if I was going to go in the Matthew Reilly catalogue, I mean, you've read Great China Zoo or Great Zoos. I'm looking at the book. I have no excuse for getting it wrong. The Great Zoo of China.
Yeah.
But I actually think Tournament you might actually enjoy.
Oh, yes. Tournament would be a good one.
It's a female lead character, young female lead character who is a chess champion.
Ooh.
And it's set.
How does he get explosions into that book?
Well, it's not. It's not really that sort of book.
It's
actually, it's more of a thriller.
It's a very different book for him.
It's very, very different.
To sweeten the deal a bit, the main character is actually a young Elizabeth I.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
And so, yeah, and she all the shenanigans and hijinks and political maneuverings that are going on at this chess tournament.
I want to know when chess was invented.
A long time ago.
Oh yeah, more than 1500 years. Okay.
Yes.
So we're good.
Yeah, Matthew, he didn't change. Yeah, he didn't change when chess was invented for this story.
I mean, I wouldn't surprise
Your Majesty, we've come up with this new game.
That's very true. Oh God, he's messed with world history.
Oh my goodness, yes.
I guess that's another trope. That's another trope about airport fiction is it plays very loose with physics.
Yeah.
No, there isn't physics in them.
No such thing as physics in airport fiction.
If bullets are meant to go around corners, they're going to go around corners. That's just what they're going to do.
Yeah.
Because, story and fun.
I'd almost say that Dan Brown's novels are almost like airport.
Oh no, they
would definitely fit in within that category.
They're just very long airport fiction, I would say.
Yeah,
but like
on the long end.
The character of Robert Langdon definitely has those tropes about him, where he's just like this mild-mannered academic who gets into these amazing scrapes and is like somehow fine. I mean, like if you've ever read Angels and Demons, for example, which I prefer to the Da Vinci Code. I think it was far more exciting, and they did not do that book justice in the adaptation.
No, see, I will disagree with you.
Oh, okay.
I thought the novel The Da Vinci Code was better than the book Angels and Demons.
Oh,
but
okay.
I vastly prefer the movie Angels and Demons over the Da Vinci Code adaptation.
Wow, we're the exact opposite. That's so weird.
No, I thought the Da Vinci Code adaptation was a bit
It wasn't great.
Loved the Angels and Demons adaptation.
Oh, okay, fair enough. But like, I don't know if you remember, but at the end of the book of Angels and Demons,
Oh, that was
um,
stupid.
that's what we're talking about here, where
Yes.
he
How
falls out of a plane and he uses, like, what does he end up
he
having
uses
to?
he uses the like shiny screen protector that you put on your car to stop your car getting hot.
Yeah, as
But
to, as
it's
a,
a helicopter one
yes,
that
but
he
not
grabs and
parachute. It's like a paragliding thing to sort of
he slows.
stop his velocity so that when he
Yeah.
lands in that churchyard, he's not injured. It's so dumb. But I'm like,
No,
that was
no, he doesn't.
exciting.
I remember this. I'm sorry to correct you.
I can't remember
He
exactly what
uses
happened.
it not as a parachute or a glider or
No.
anything. He used it to slow his velocity
Yeah.
just enough, and he hits the river
Oh, that's right. He fell in a
in Rome,
river.
whatever the river in Rome is. I don't know what it is, but he hits it enough that he's slowed himself enough down that I think he only breaks his legs or something, or one of his legs.
Yeah, but I mean, like, for the fact that he fell out of a plane, he's not
Helicopter.
severely. Oh, helicopter. Sorry. Yes, you're right.
Important.
Yeah.
Yes,
Important.
that's right. It was a helicopter because it had the bomb in it. And
Actually, it would be actually, yeah, between a helicopter and a plane is important was how high.
yes,
Talking like this is some sort of high brow fiction. It's not.
really, it's really not.
Basically, I just, as we're talking, I was thinking if MacGyver was to be a book, that's airport fiction.
Yes.
Ah, yes,
That's summed up perfectly.
summed up perfectly.
Yeah. Although I'm having like, I don't know if it's PTSD from Angels and Demons. I read it when I was a teenager, like when the Da Vinci Code first came out, whenever that was, like the early 2000s. I read Angels and Demons,
Such a phenomenon.
as we all did back then. The thing I remember about Angels and Demons is there's one point right at the start of the book where he's watching someone in, those wind tunnels where you can parachute, like skydive in.
Yeah, that's the Chekhov's gun moment. So that because he
Yes,
gets told about that, and then he
yes.
uses it at the
But
end.
looking back on it now, and I mean, like, airport fiction writers are not like the best writers in the world. And I know Matthew Reilly fully admits that. He knows he's not a great
Oh, yeah, he's
writer.
not writing literature.
Mm, yeah, he's good at what he does, but he knows he's never going to win a Pulitzer Prize.
And nor does he care.
No. But I think Dan Brown, like, looking back on it now as an adult, is like even not great at that. Because the Chekhov's gun moment is literally someone says, like, this person's floating in the thing with the wingsuit on or whatever. It's like, oh yeah, just this kind of I'm trying to remember the wording, but it's just this amount of friction or air resistance will be enough to slow you down this much. And then I'm pretty sure there's literally a sentence where it's like Robert Langford didn't know that in just a few days this information would save his life.
Yeah, it's very on the nose.
Wow, I've got to love them just going, this is important. Do not forget this.
Yeah.
Remember this now.
You're going to ask why he knew how to do this later? This is why.
Which is why I really loved the the books that I read recently, Everyone in My Family Has Killed Someone, and the sequel, it's right there, hang on, Everyone on This Train is a Suspect, because the writer points out those moments quite obviously and makes a joke out of it. And that's what I appreciated those moments, because I'm like,
if it's done like that, I think it can be fun. But if it's just
if you're being serious and you're writing
I think you're stupid. I don't think you're
Yeah.
going to remember this. I'm going to just spell it out for you so that you
Whereas
don't forget.
Yep.
Dan Brown was not taking the piss. He was being a serious writer.
Yeah.
It's literally, like you said, Chekhov's gun going, I've just bought this loaded gun. I'm going to put it precariously on the edge of this table. I hope no one bumps the table and it goes off accidentally. Wink.
Wink, wink.
Yeah.
See, that could be funny if you do it in a funny way.
If you do it tongue in cheek, absolutely.
Yep.
The intent is what's important.
If that was in like the play that goes wrong, perfect.
Yes. Perfect. Oh man, those guys are great.
Yeah.
So to sum up, which one would you recommend the most, I think, out of airport fiction of what you have read, Adrian?
Well, I mean, which one? I don't. That's a hard question because obviously I've read a lot more Matthew Reilly than a lot of the others, and we've talked about that more because of a shared experience.
Mm.
But I really like Jeffrey Deaver. One of his books is called The Vanished Man, and it is basically there's a recurring character who I don't know whether you've seen the movie Bone Collector.
Yes, I've read
Heard of
actually.
it.
I've read at least 5 of those novels in that series, if I remember.
Vanished Man is in that series, so it's
Yeah.
Lincoln Rhymes
Lincoln
um,
Rhymes, that's the one. Yes,
as
I've read
the
at least 4 or 5.
paraplegic forensic investigator that
Mm.
solves all these things by just working the puzzle with his mind, essentially. Um,
Of course.
but the villain, the bad guy, is a magician, and they're using magic tricks and illusion techniques to get away with murder.
I feel like I have read that one actually, and I
Um,
just don't remember much about it.
and
It's
so
terrible.
he pairs up with a female apprentice magician who sort of explains how the tricks are done and like lifts the curtain on the quick changes and the props that they use to pull off these seemingly impossible murders.
The Magician Society won't be happy about that. They're going to come for him.
I mean, anyway, any real illusions. It's more just how this guy was able to distract and deceive the police that they think they're looking this way, but it's actually happening that way. And I really enjoyed that, mainly because I have an interest in magic and I'm no good at it, but I love the idea of illusion and performance magic. So I found that really an interesting book. But yeah, all of them have got books that I didn't enjoy as much. But I do enjoy anything with that. I think it's just really enjoy that supernatural, almost male lead or female lead. But the lead characters can do things that seemingly impossible, but with no additional superhuman abilities. They're not a superhero or anything like that. They're just good at what they do. And I like that. And I explained that terribly.
That's all right. I think through the conversations we've had, I think people get the idea.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have really only read Matthew Reilly books in this genre. Except the only one I haven't read of his is The Secret Runners of New York.
I listened to that on audiobook.
Yeah, that's the one Matthew Reilly book for some reason I've just not gotten around to reading yet. I'll have to actually get it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
He says it's not in a young adult book, but if it's not a young adult book, it's very nearly a young adult.
Okay. Yeah.
It doesn't quite play into the romantic tropes as much as a young adult books often do.
Yep.
But it's definitely toying with that genre. But then he puts a whole Matthew Reilly kind of spin on it.
Okay, great.
Almost you could say a Stephen King kind of spin on it.
Oh, okay, interesting.
It's got some dark moments in it.
Yeah, because I like it when he kind of branches out into other stuff that's not just action with guns.
Yeah, I mean this is actiony, but it's more what the heck is going on.
Yeah.
Like there's not a lot of the shoot bang bang kind of stuff that you get in the Schofield or the trying to think of the name of the lead character, West Jr.
Jack West Jr. Yeah.
Jack West Jr. But they're very much the action adventure Indiana Jones. Because Jack West Jr.'s unapologetically is basically Indiana Jones.
Yeah. It's his Indiana Jones.
If Indiana Jones were a novel, that would definitely be airport fiction, I would say.
Oh yeah.
That's actually it. I think anything where you've got that lead character that's doing absolutely ridiculous adventurous stuff and having outcomes that work in their favor when they shouldn't, I think that would fall very much in that airport genre.
Yeah.
So that stuff that you would think of as mindless movies you can put on and just let it wash over you, it's the book version of it.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Well, hopefully we've talked about Matthew Reilly enough that he'll the
Come on the
algorithm
show
will
next
find
week.
him
Yeah.
and he'll come on the show. But yeah, like I said, I've
You
met
better
him.
call me back if he comes on the show.
Absolutely.
We'll definitely have you back.
I said I've met him twice at a couple of supernovas, and really lovely guy. Happy, he's really happy just to have a chat with you, take a photo.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Matthew, or someone out there that knows Matthew,
Get on it. Make it happen.
yep.
Hell, if he's at the next supernova, maybe we can talk to him and ask him
Yes.
on the podcast then.
He's probably, I think he lives in LA now, full time.
Yeah, I think so.
So he's probably
Trying to
very
get
busy.
Get his books made into movies.
Yeah.
That's his dream, and he wants it to happen.
Oh yeah, he's tried for years. I almost feel sorry for him that he keeps getting roadblocked.
Some of them really should be, like even some of the standalone ones, like Contest, really should be.
He tried. He made a short film
Did he?
for Contest, like a proof of concept years
I
ago,
would love to see that in a film.
himself playing the main character.
Okay.
Yeah. It was a short, low budget thing. It was like the first maybe 10 minutes of the movie, or what the movie would have been.
Yeah.
But I don't think it went anywhere. I think he filmed it as a thing to show studios, but obviously it didn't go anywhere.
No.
I think he needs to get Ryan Reynolds on the phone.
Mm.
Ryan Reynolds.
I mean, yes, if Ryan Reynolds
at the
got
moment.
passionate about one of his books, it would definitely be made.
All right. Should we wrap it up there?
I think so. So, Adrian, thank you very much for coming on this week and discussing your thoughts about airport novels. It's all very insightful. Julian, we miss you. Hopefully you feel better and we'll be back for the next recording. If you want to show your support, you can follow us on the socials, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, when we have TikToks up, not very often.
No, I post a couple a week. Usually.
Oh, that's good. Excellent.
Just depends when I have time to put them together.
I don't look at them.
That's fine.
You can email us at we'renothelpfulpod@gmail.com. Hey, no, it's not that. Yeah, God damn it.
Nope, it's just nothelpfulpod@gmail.com.
Oh, man, I'm going to remember it one of these days.
So
close.
One day.
One day.
And when she does, that will be the final episode.
I'll have it stuck to my monitor next time.
Yeah. We're not going to get any better than that as soon as she remembers.
Oh dear. Don't forget to also subscribe, and if you have a spare couple of moments on, for example, on Apple Podcasts, if you can give us one of those little reviews, the stars and a written review, that gets the algorithms going and puts us to the top. So please do that if you haven't done already. But other than that, I think that's a good place to end. So thank you, Brayton. Thank you, Adrian. Thank you, me.
Thank you, Eloise.
And we will catch you next time.